Hey there. I have a question for you all. What is your favorite thing to do? And this thing that when you do it, you lose track of time. It feels like time went by like that. You could do it forever. You would pay someone to do this thing. What is something like that for you? For me, it's acting and singing and dancing, especially Broadway show tunes. And I absolutely love it. And I would do it whenever you asked me to. I would do it in the rain and I would do it in a train. Just reminding me of Dr. Seuss. Now, I want you to think about what are those things that you just hate doing? You dread doing it. You would rather do, I don't know, something else. You just don't like doing this thing, right? Just get a picture of that in your mind. Now, what if I told you, all right, you have to do this thing. Let's just say it's wash the dishes and you hate washing the dishes. You have to wash the dishes, but I'm going to give you your favorite dessert after. Would you be more motivated to wash the dishes, maybe even wash them a little bit faster to get to that dessert faster? I bet you would. I know that I would, right? So, what I just did for you right there was I illustrated the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So, intrinsic motivation is when you are just driven from the inside to perform a task. So, that's the thing that nobody has to tell me to sing to a Hamilton song that comes on the radio. I am driven to do that. I'm internally motivated to do that. That's intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation is when something external is offered to you to motivate you to do something else, something unassociated, maybe. So, like giving you the dessert if you wash the dishes. So, what does this have to do with our kids? This has to do with our kids because we often hear about using reinforcers with our kids to help motivate them to perform different learning tasks or to do things around the house or to learn new skills or whatever. And I don't know if you've noticed lately, there is a big push to work towards using internal motivation or intrinsic motivation. It is a more highly preferred method of reinforcing or motivating your child to do things rather than extrinsic motivation. That being said, I do not believe that extrinsic motivation is bad. I think that we are all driven by external motivators, hence that dessert if we finish the dishes, or our paycheck. If we go to work, we get a paycheck. That's extrinsic motivation, right? So I don't think that it's bad. And I do think that there's a time and a place for extrinsic motivators, especially when it comes to working with our children on the spectrum. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give you a few examples of what the difference is between the two and how you can use them to motivate your child differently. So, like I said, intrinsic motivation is when your child is driven to perform a task just by their own volition, their own free will, because they enjoy doing it. So, how do we get that intrinsic motivation for our kids who aren't maybe necessarily motivated to do homework or to do math or to learn new vocabulary words or to practice their speech sounds? Well, I have a few tricks up my sleeves and suggestions of activities you can try. And you can just, this list is by no means, what is that word? It's like there's many more options on the than what's on this list is what I'm trying to say. Um, so I'm going to just give you like 5 or 6 examples so that you can kind of get your brain in that thinking pattern and run with it for your own child and what they are motivated by. So, for example, I had a student who was nonverbal and communicated primarily with a communication device, and he had a high level of sensory need and a high level of physical need. And so he had a goal to use 2-word requests on his communication device. So I had this ball popping toy that he loved to play with. And what I did was I satisfied he loved the ball popping toy, so I used that as the main part of the activity, and I satisfied his need for movement and sensory input by having I would put the toy itself. I was lucky enough in my therapy room at this school to have a ramp outside of my door. There was a door going out to the parking lot, and there was a ramp that was like a little hill that went down. And so I put the toy at the top of the ramp, and I stole a scooter from the OT room, and then I had a bowl full of the balls for the popping toy at the bottom. So he had to use his device at the bottom of the hill, ask for the ball, the color and the ball, and then he rode his scooter to the top, put it in, and then he got to ride his scooter down. So all of these components, getting to play with the toy, moving his body up the ramp, gave him that heavy work sensory input that he needed, and then the fun of riding down the hill made him using his device to use that 2-word request intrinsically motivating. So you could see how I contrived the situation to use a lot of the things that he liked and wanted to motivate him to do something that he wasn't necessarily motivated to do otherwise. Use 2 words to request on his device. Another example, I had a little guy who was verbal, but he was limited in his intention of his communication. So he didn't initiate a lot of communication. It was basically he initiated it when he really, really wanted something. And he had a very short attention span, didn't like to sit at the table. So I had a target with him, a goal with him that he had to identify. I can't remember what the number was, but identify pictures, receptive identification in an array of 3. He absolutely hated working on this task. But I had a toy that was a ball ramp where you put the ball and they go down the ramp that he loved to play with. So I took 3 styrofoam cups and I flipped them over and I put the ball under one of the cups. And then I would take the pictures that I'm working on with him and I put them on top of the cups, making sure that the picture I wanted him to point to was on top of the cup that had the ball. So he very quickly realized when he touched the right picture, he got the ball, and then he was able to use the ball on the track. So he was very intrinsically motivated to scan those pictures and find the right picture because he knew that when he did that, he was going to get the ball. But by doing that, he was intrinsically motivated to really look at and process what the pictures were and what the word is that I was saying to him, which is what he needed to do to master that skill. I had another little guy who was also verbal, but he had a lot of articulation errors. And he really, really loved looking at car logos and talking about car names. And it was really difficult to understand him when he would talk about these because of all of his articulation errors. So a way that I incorporated intrinsic motivation for him was I made different car labels and car logos his articulation targets because he liked talking about them anyway. And this way he was practicing his speech sounds and his coordination of speech. And when he said those words, other people were understanding him better because he was learning how to say those words better. Other ideas that you can do is if your child has like a favorite TV show that they love or favorite character that they love, use that character or the character names from their favorite TV show or movie and make up math word problems about it. They might be more motivated to think about the math problem if it's filled with the characters that they love. You can practice question comprehension by making up quizzes about your child's favorite show or book or movie. So these are for kids that have a higher level of language that they're working on. Maybe if your child's working on sight words, make up a story about your child's favorite toy to practice early sight words. So you can like take pictures of the toy, like maybe doing different things, whatever would fit for the sight words that your child's working on, and then take the picture and then pair it with the sentence that includes the sight words, and your child will be motivated to read about it because it's about their favorite toy or their favorite stuffed animals. Make a learning obstacle course. So this could look any way that your imagination will bring you. Maybe it's you put the couch cushions on the floor, and in order for them to jump from one cushion to the next, they have to answer a question or they have to fill in a blank sentence or some other skill that you want them to practice. So they're motivated to get to jump to the next cushion. So they're motivated to, and if they have to get it right or something to get to the next cushion, you do something like that. I loved using those accordion tubes that fold up really skinny, but then they fold out when they're undone. They're a nice long tunnel. I would put, like, if I was working on a puzzle or something, I'd put the puzzle at the end and I'd keep all the pieces. And so the child would have to ask me for the piece, go through the sensory tunnel, put in the puzzle, run back around. So they were incorporating movement and sensory components by playing in the tunnel to get the puzzle completed. So any way you can incorporate movement and sensory into the task, especially for a child on the spectrum, that is going to go a long way in making the activity intrinsically motivating. So let's talk about some examples of what an extrinsic motivator might look like. So this might look like a child earning stickers or a piece of candy while you're toilet training your child. And you know what? I think, no judgment, you do what you have to do. These extrinsic motivators have their place and their value, in my opinion. You can earn money doing chores. I mean, that's just something that a lot of people do with their kids, no matter if they are neurotypical or neurodiverse. Earning money to do chores, earning money is the extrinsic motivator. Earning a break after a set amount of work time, that is an extrinsic motivator. Utilizing first then strategies. Anytime you say first this, then this, that is an extrinsic motivator. And again, you want to aim for keeping activities and learning as intrinsically motivating as possible, because that truly is when the child attends and learns the best. But sometimes that doesn't work, and you have to call in some of your other tools, such as using the extrinsic motivators as well. So please comment below with any questions. If you'd like some ideas of how to make an activity intrinsically motivating, let me know, and I would love to help you with that. Just drop it in the comments below. Speaking of First Then board, check out my free motivation map. There is a printable First Then and token board in that, and the motivation map just takes you step by step through how to take all the things that your child loves and is interested in and turns them into motivation for you to use to get your child to where you want them to go with their targets and their goals and their learning in home, at school, in the community, all the things. It just shows you really how to take your child's likes and interests and make learning and growing fun. So check it out. Go to Mindshaper SLP/motivation map to download your free copy. Thanks so much for being here. It was great, and I will see you soon. Bye.